when ICE thugs come up to cars and say, "Didn't you learn your lesson?"
And people don't back down.
And people don't back down? That's America, not the fucking fascist bootlickers who are fine with whatever Trump or his goons do. It is the people who, knowing there is danger to them, still go out. And you know who doesn't do that? Republicans. Hey everybody, welcome back. I know it's been a while, and I'm just asking, what did we miss?
I don't think we missed too much.
Right? It was like,
It's not.
It was real quiet and calm, like through the week of Christmas for the most part.
Yeah, nothing's happening in Minneapolis or South America or Greenland. Nothing.
Which, interestingly, is the same thing that's happening in Washington right now. Fucking nothing. Except a lot of Republican consternation.
Right. We kid in the darkness, but let's get down to, what's going on lately.
I'll kick us off.
Go ahead.
So I think, as at this point everyone's aware, and this video will be shorter because we know all these things have been talked about to death while we were on hiatus. I know everyone has seen the shooting of Renee Good.
Yeah, Renee Good, there you go.
In Minneapolis. I know that there is probably a mix of people who understand why ICE was there in the first place. But you see, what happened was the Epstein files, because the Disclosure Act passed, were supposed to get released. And the same day they were going to get released, some asshole on YouTube put out a video about fraud in Minneapolis around daycares and NGOs. And keep in mind, bear in mind, that all of this fraud had already sort of been discovered and prosecuted under the Biden administration. And I don't know, Ryan, if you saw this, but the guy who made that video, Nick Shirley, he did an interview with Andrew Callahan, and I'm gonna be mean, but Nick Shirley is the dumbest motherfucker who ever walked the face of this earth. And it's not distant. Like, I watched that interview, and I'm surprised Nick Shirley doesn't have to wear a helmet wherever he goes.
I mean, I will say, I say this as us technically YouTubers. I don't think YouTuber is a great watermark or a level for intelligent person. Anyone can just upload some shit, right? So it's not that surprising that any dumbass on the street could come up with can string one or two sentences together to fool a bunch of Republicans. Again,
by that standard, he is still
the dumbest
person, I think, on the internet, which is quite famously filled with a lot of dumb people.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I heard about it, and I know that was part of the catalyst for everything that's been going down in Minneapolis, at least functionally, or at least from probably just within the Trump administration.
Well, that's
everybody else
casus belli for it.
Exactly. All the rest of us, we were all like, "What the fuck's happening?" I think really the only takeaway for this is that there's no actual legal precedence for ICE to be there and how it's being implemented. I mean, you're right. It's been talked to death. I don't really know what more we can say about how ICE is being used, but they are functionally being used as a secret police. They are no different than the SS in a lot of ways. And they attract that kind of personality.
Yeah, I mean, they're abducting U.S. citizens, beating U.S. citizens. It's like, I think the videos that have been coming out have been extremely graphic. They've been radicalizing for a lot of people who are very, very fucking normal. And it
They have.
is, it's wild to see that how low ICE's approval is going and how much the approval for abolishing ICE is skyrocketing among the population.
You know, I'm glad you bring up the abolish ICE movement, right? When that all got floated back in 2020, this is a lot of that also got fueled by, the George Floyd protests in 2020. It was a major sticking point in the Democratic the
The
primaries.
party platform, the
And
primaries.
yeah, the primaries. And of course at the time it was a fairly unpopular opinion outside of the very radicalized like far left, part of the party. But the fact that how many what would be considered normal, not even lib, like we're talking center voters are starting to shift that way. That shows a massive, just a massive shift in public opinion of not just ICE, but of the Trump administration. Because, even with all the tariff stuff, yeah, that was hurting regular people. It wasn't very popular, but I don't think the shift was as intense as it has been. I mean, like a year ago, he just started a year ago, but even within the first couple months, it wasn't that bad, right? But it's crazy how quick the shift has happened, just because of everything going on. And I think, and you're right, the how graphic the videos are showing how they're not just violating, like it's not just like your normal First Amendment. They're violating Fourth, Fifth. They're violating like every one of the basic Bill of Rights.
Bill of Rights violation, speed run any percent. Greg Bovino is currently leading the charts. I find it interesting that, especially in the US, which is generally pretty broadly desensitized to police violence, that even with that being the case, we're still seeing so much public pushback against this. And it's wild because when you really boil it down and consider it, Minnesota has maybe, like, I think the estimates I saw were 100,000 illegal immigrants compared to, I think, somewhere in the millions between Texas and Florida. And where's ICE? Where's ICE in force? And you've got Trump and Stephen Miller threatening the Insurrection Act. You've got them having the DOJ investigate the mayor and the governor for obstructing the federal government by telling their people it's okay to peacefully protest. And
within their rights.
You've got, and that this all speaks to weaponization of the DOJ that the right has long decried as what Biden was doing. And I fucking wish the DOJ had been weaponized against Trump and his thugs. I fucking wish Biden had been 1/10 of the boogeyman they thought he was, or Merrick Garland had been 1,000th of the boogeyman they thought he was. And instead, we got milquetoast.
We don't speak the name Merrick Garland in this household.
Yeah. And so ICE is off the rails. You've got the DOJ prosecuting, looking to prosecute the chair of the Fed, Jerome Powell, looking to prosecute the mayor of Minneapolis and the governor of Minnesota. You've got all of this bullshit which keeps getting laughed out of court, even though it's no fucking laughing matter what they're doing to the system. And that's just domestically.
I think, what is, as bleak as that sounds, there are certain elements of good in there. Not in that specifically, but you realize that even with all the tools they have in hand, they really are idiots. Like if these tools were being used by genuinely intelligent people, this would be far scarier. It's still scary, but think about how dangerous this would be if these people were even a 10th smarter than they are.
I mean, it's an influencer administration. that's what it is to a fucking T. Like, this is why when Jonathan Ross shot Renee Good, he was fucking filming it on his cell phone instead of a body cam. Like, they're influencers. They're trying to get good footage to put on TikTok or Instagram or that Nazi platform that's making CSAM. I think they call it X now. And that's the level of competence we get. That's why we got fucking Janine Pirro running the DC federal prosecutor's office and shitting the bed on every fucking investigation that comes her way.
As a fan of history, I often do go back and I look through stuff, and I mean, the obvious one is Nazi Germany, and you see so many of the parallels that it's scary, but not even in like, again, the biggest similarities aren't in how, functionally dangerous they are and with the potential of genocide or something. It really is just how stupid they are. And it sucks being part of the stupid side in history and knowing that there's little we actually can do in the writing of this story. Because I think about, like, so as of this recording, there recently were, we just got the text between Trump and the Prime Minister of Norway about Greenland, the fact that Trump has floated these ideas to tariff all of the countries sending militaries to
Nope,
militaries to
any country who opposes. It's not even sending people. It's getting on Twitter and saying, hey man, that's not great. And he's like, fuck you, 10% tariff and 25% if that shit ain't dealt with.
And
we pay that shit. We pay that shit.
Yeah, we pay for that. They don't pay for it. We pay for it. And irrelevant of the fact that we're the most powerful economy in the world, we still require a lot of goods from everywhere else in the world. We don't make everything. We don't even make half of all the things that we use. It's such a stupid strategy. But I also, it's funny how many dumbass conservatives, they go on here and they're like, the Europeans don't want war with us. I don't fully understand that logic. I know that the idea it's based in like American exceptionalism that like no European could kick our ass in war. That's just not true. They 100% could easily hold their own against us.
Yeah, they're peer nations. It's not Russia, Ukraine. It's not U.S., Venezuela. It's the EU versus the US. And the EU does have nuclear capable states who have nukes and nuclear subs, fighter jets, trained soldiers, trained pilots, munitions.
Technically, France's nuclear policy is still unchanged. I think they do still hold the policy of they will nuke you if you invade or something like that.
I mean,
not that
after what happened during the last World War, can you blame them?
No, and they knew that was the only correct way to defend themselves against the Soviet Union, because Stalin understood that de Gaulle would 100% nuke them. But I really don't even know what more to say, as depressing as it is.
I have something. I would like to, for those of us who have not read it, I would like to just read Trump's letter to the PM of Norway.
Oh.
Just so we're all on board with what our president is sending through diplomatic channels to other countries. Dear Jonas, considering your country decided not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize for having stopped 8 wars plus, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace, although it will always be predominant, but can now think about what is good and proper for the United States of America. Denmark cannot protect that land from Russia or China. And why do they have a, quote, right of ownership anyway? There are no written documents. It's only that a boat landed there hundreds of years ago, but we had boats landing there also. I have done more for NATO than any other person since its founding, and now NATO should do something for the United States. The world is not secure unless we have complete and total control of Greenland. Thank you, President DJT. Now I want to point a few things out because I find this funny. He has, to my knowledge, ended no wars, despite the fact that the number he says keeps fucking rising.
Yeah, none.
He says that because he didn't get the Nobel Peace Prize, he should get Greenland, despite the fact that it is Norway as a country where the Nobel Peace Prize is housed, but it is not the government of Norway who gives the prize.
It's a separate entity.
He says, and I want to just really pay attention to the wording here, I have done more for NATO than any other person since its founding. And now NATO should do something for the United States. So he says, I've done more for NATO, and now NATO should do something for me. What he means is me. What he probably wrote there in that initial tweet, or what he said out loud before his handlers changed it on the letter, was, I have done more for NATO than any other person since its founding, and now NATO should do something for me. He doesn't give a shit about the US because the US neither wants nor needs Greenland. Greenland does not want to be a part of the US.
Nope. Should also be noted, we have full military access to the island anyways.
We already have a base there. We could have more bases. We could build the bases bigger.
We have unlimited military access to the island anyways, simply because of a treaty post World War II. There's no need for us to politically have the island. There's no need for it.
Yep.
And we already do everything necessary.
And just, just sort of thinking out loud, but like, why do we want Greenland? Oh yeah, because Trump wants his name on some big expansion of US territory, because he wants us to be a hegemon of the Western Hemisphere instead of a global superpower, because should we take Greenland by force, I'm certain all the countries we have military bases in will feel no displeasure in taking all of our soldiers currently stationed there as POWs and confiscating all of our military equipment at those bases. And I wouldn't blame them, because that would be what I would do.
And the majority of our military bases in the world are in where? Europe.
Weird how that works out.
Yeah.
I mean, while we're here, we've also kidnapped. Now, listen, I'm going to do the throat clearing. Maduro's a sack of shit.
Yeah, I have thoughts on that too.
Maduro's a sack of shit. Take that off the table. I don't like him. What I don't like more than Maduro is I don't like us going into sovereign nations and forcibly kidnapping their leaders when we have threatened Mexico and Canada and Greenland. And
again, yes, let's again point it out. Maduro, horrible human being. No one's denying that. He is a bad leader. In fact, the majority of the Venezuelan people do not want him in the country. They did not want him to be the leader. He lost his last election without voter fraud and refused to concede, essentially. But none of the Venezuelan people wanted the U.S. involved. And mind you, Trump and his administration lie. They're lying when they tell you...
Whoa.
Yeah.
Can you repeat that?
Why would they? Yeah. The Trump administration lying? They don't do that. That's insane.
Not Kristi Noem or Stephen Miller or Marco Rubio or J.D. Vance or...
Of course not. You mean J.D. Vance, the most evil human alive? He actually... Okay, just a quick tangent on that. J.D. Vance might actually be one of the most evil people to walk the earth, because Trump, I think, is just truly... I think he's just mentally gone, on top of the fact that he's completely consumed by his ego. J.D. Vance not only 10 years ago referred to Trump as Hitler, and he sold every bit of his soul for even an ounce of the belief of power, not even actual power. Like, truly an evil person. But moving back to what I was saying, the Venezuelan people did not want Maduro forcibly removed by a U.S. Invasion. Also, the Trump administration Trump told the game, right? Unlike the Bush administration, at least Trump was honest. They just want the fucking oil. And that's 100. He literally said that. Because he didn't remove the party, the government in question doing the bad things. He left them in power. So as long as they listen to Trump. He didn't even install the person that technically won who also is a Trump ass kisser. He literally left Maduro's government in power just without Maduro.
Yep. For those of you who don't know, the opposition leader, Machado, was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2025. She, at the time, dedicated it to Trump because she is a right-wing authoritarian. I want to be clear.
She is.
And she dedicated it to Trump, and he still got ass pained that she didn't just not take it. And so he wasn't going to make her leader, and so she showed up to the White House and gave him her Nobel Peace Prize to try and win favor so that she could be installed as dictator of Venezuela, which is funny because you would have to topple the rest of Maduro's government to give her power. They're not just going to be like, oh yeah, it's fine.
I also will say, I don't necessarily fault the Venezuelan people for the amount of them that voted for Machado, simply because they're living under a strained existence. She is a right-wing authoritarian. You are correct, but for a lot of people in difficult situations, they're going to vote for the
lesser of two evils.
Power, the lesser of two evils, exactly. Even though she is still evil. And also, let's talk about the fact that Maduro is brought to America and served with bogus charges that make no sense and are literally the definition of a kangaroo court.
Serving as the head of a cartel organization that doesn't exist. Conspiracy to own machine guns as the sovereign leader of another nation. I may be using sovereign incorrectly there, but as the leader of another nation, owning machine guns is illegal somehow in U.S. courts. Also, keep in mind, the indictments against him were first handed out at the end of the first Trump term. So Trump is just finishing up on something he started on in round one. We're playing world police in a way that is not popular. We are leaving a region unstable that is at our doorstep. We tried regime change in Iraq and in Afghanistan, and that didn't go well for the region. And those people can't walk to the U.S. if they want.
Well, and also let's point out that, again, that Trump likes authoritarians. He just doesn't like the authoritarians that don't side with him. He talks they talk big game, like many of the right-wingers, about Iran, but right now there's an actual, again, like many times before, this is a very tense moment for Iran, and where is America trying to support the people wanting change in their country?
Well, he has said he was going to do something.
Yeah. That's just going to get more innocent Iranians killed rather than actually. And honestly, what would happen is he would just invade the country. He would make, the Ayatollah swear allegiance to him and then move on.
Yep.
Nothing changes. He likes dictators as long as they suck his dick. I think this leads me to my final, I think the final thing I kind of want to talk about, which is assuming voter suppression, again, all things considered, it looks like we're functionally moving to a fairly blue wave at the worst in the midterms. But that's assuming they really don't try to suppress our votes. We know they're going to. That's part of the playbook of Project 2025. That was part of the playbook. So we can't take this for granted. Everybody we have to outperform their suppression. And we've been saying that for the last 20 years. No one wants to talk about that. It is spirit crushing knowing that you always have to outperform in situations that should not require that. But that is the situation we're in. I think more important too is that even if we do get a Democratic, we take that back the Senate and the House in the midterms, which will handicap Trump in every conceivable way. Assuming we actually have, our Congress actually tries to do stuff. But let's assume there's still enough gears within the American military, the executive branch, enough people loyal to the Constitution, loyal to America, that they agree with Congress's ultimate rulings and don't do what Trump tells them to do. And again, let's assume we remove Trump not remove Trump. Let's assume we win in 2028 and we beat who is most likely going to be JD Vance. our international standing is going to be we are damaged as a country internationally for several decades. I don't know how much the only way to redeem ourselves to fix this is going to require a radical government, and I do admit I fear that the government that's going to succeed Trump, if it's a Democratic government, won't be radical enough to make the meaningful changes right away, and then we're just going to get back in the cycle that we always do, right? Democratic government tries to fix the stuff doesn't get fixed. Republicans say it's our fault, they get in power, and they make it worse each time. It's just a cycle, right? But I think that's just a fear. That I don't think that's actually going to happen necessarily, but I do think it's important to note those of us who are far on the left, that the ones who bailed on Kamala, the ones who are going to say, "Oh, the Democrats aren't being radical enough." We have to hold. If we give in, they're just going to take as many vacuums of power as they can.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. I want to make clear to anyone watching, we are not the people who bailed on Kamala or the Democratic Party. We both understand that we have to vote for the nominees, full stop.
If I worded it that way, I apologize. I did vote for Kamala.
Yeah, you did say those of us on the left who, and then you...
Well, right,
I want to clarify.
Myself, yeah.
No, it is that. Like, we do all have to get on board. I don't think I so much have a fear of a Democratic administration being too meek after this moment. I think what we're currently outlining is a playbook that can work in both directions, and you are rapidly radicalizing a large section of your voting base. And I think that anger and that frustration is going to show through in the primaries, and I think it's going to be reflected in candidates. Now, as to our standing in the world, absolutely, it's real bad right now. It's bad out here. Just a week or two ago, Trump pulled us out of somewhere around 100 treaties or agreements that he could legally pull us out of, across a bunch of different things. Work with the WHO, work with NATO, work in developing countries. So many different agreements and treaties that gave us so much soft power, and he just pulled us out of them because that's what he wants. He wants no constraints from anything, and the international community is a constraint to him. And especially now, and I want to point out, we are recording this on the 19th, so not even a year, folks. We are a day away from a year into a 4-year term, assuming he doesn't die of some sort of disease or errant bite of a cheeseburger or a fillet of fish or fall down some stairs or fall up some stairs.
That fuck eats fish.
Oh no, fillet of fish is one of his 2 favorite things at McDonald's.
Really?
I wasn't talking about like a fillet. I wasn't talking about like a nice cooked fillet of fish. I was talking about the fillet of fish sandwich. No, it's one of his 2 favorites.
I did not know that. That's crazy.
Big Macs and fillet of fish. Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
I know, he's a truly terrible human.
Wild. Okay.
Yeah, but we're a year in, and it is heartening to see some people waking up. It is heartening to see that even with the way they try to threaten people in Minneapolis, they still show up. When ICE thugs come up to cars and say, "Didn't you learn your lesson?"
And people don't back down.
That's America, not the fucking fascist bootlickers who are fine with whatever Trump or his goons do. It is the people who, knowing there is danger to them, still go out. And you know who doesn't do that? Republicans, the far right, the alt-right, those fucking cowards don't show up to shit unless they've got a police line between them and the counter-protesters, who there are always more of, because they're fucking cowards. That's why they seek to use institutional power against people who have the power of community and numbers behind them.
It's why the NRA is bullshit. They're one of their core beliefs is to fight against a fascist government. As soon as a fascist government gets in power, where it's like, hey, fight for the First and Second Amendment. Where are you?
Yeah, I'll do you one better. I'll do you one better. There have been like more people have been showing up to ICE counter protests armed, or like in their neighborhoods armed. And you see all the right-wing shitheels who talk a big game about the Second Amendment be like, Arrest and charge. For what, motherfucker? These are your rules.
Exercising my Second Amendment right.
He didn't shoot anybody. He's outside his house with a gun. You want that.
And what's funny is when you say that, they go, oh well, Minneapolis doesn't have open carry laws for rifles, and it's like, oh, so now you care about gun laws.
Conservatives
But
are nothing if not hypocritical.
Of course. I mean, I know we never released this video, but we did talk about gun violence in this country, and one of the things I don't know if I said it in the video, but it's something I do fundamentally believe. I think in there, to kind of throw it in their face, we should express our Second Amendment rights in these situations. Those cops, like those thugs, aren't going to do anything if they think there's a legitimate risk to their health. Now, I'm not saying shoot ICE. I'm not saying that. That is dangerous. Nobody should do anything like that.
Nope.
But
don't give them a reason to escalate.
But you do have a reason to protect yourself. And they would say, oh well, if you're taking guns to a peaceful protest, it's not peaceful. But I mean, so January 6th wasn't peaceful. Is that what we're saying? I thought it was I thought it was full of all nice people.
I think January 6th is essentially some sort of mental superimposition to these people, where no one position is true at any time. It is only the position you need to be true at the moment. So it was a riot instigated by hundreds of FBI agents, and yet somehow all the people arrested and they had great video evidence against were all conservative MAGA people, but there was no violence on the day. And yeah, like here's a fun thing that I found people doing, asking if you thought the shooting of Rebecca Good was okay, how was the shooting of Ashley Babbitt?
Oh, I've seen that a lot. I've seen that everywhere. And it's a good point, right? I mean, now the obvious difference is that Ashley Babbitt was actually trying to overthrow the government.
She was in the process of a crime when she got shot, had a knife on her.
Now, mind you, I will say, I don't believe in defending her per se, but also I don't believe cops are executioners. I agree she shouldn't have been killed. Well, that was an unfortunate consequence of what happened in the moment.
I will say, I'm going to go and say, I'm going to counter that and say she absolutely should have been shot. That officer had no way of knowing what she was armed with. If she was armed with something, they were breaking through barricades to get to sitting Congress people. There's almost the only thing that could have made that a shooting any more like acceptable by doctrine is if she had had a gun in her hand at the time. Right. But again, she was getting commands to don't come in here, and
which she was ignoring commands given to a police officer, correct? Right?
Yeah.
I thought we're not supposed to do that.
Yeah, and so like, listen, when you're already in the process of committing a crime and you're going to keep going at like the conservatives would never defend this in any other circumstance but this one. And
I also want, ICE doesn't also have the same jurisdiction on us as they do. Like, they aren't police officers. Like, no. I know they're technically federal officers, but at the same time, they're not. They had no actual jurisdiction in that moment. They were not city police.
No, but they
were not municipal police.
That's why they keep detaining people but not arresting them, because they have no reason to arrest them. So they detain you, they run your shit, they scare you, they try to scare you, and then they set you free after 5-6 hours of your day is gone, because they know they can't do anything else legally. And this is their MO. And America is not okay with it, and that I think is the most heartening thing.
You're right. I think the sad part about the American mentality is the fact that when push comes to shove, when we're faced with a truly authoritarian government, real true Americans will rise up in opposition to that. But the problem is, until it gets to that moment, so many people just let it fester. It sucks, but you're right, it is heartening to know that we are shifting in a good direction. And I really hope that, there will be a certain level, like you said, there will be a certain level of radicalization that will hopefully produce a democratic government that will refuse to be meek in their responses to what the Trump administration has done.
Yep.
You know, that's and note to everybody, like, again, everyone needs to go out there, like there have been protests, and so there have been protests here in Kansas City against ICE, which is great. There have been protests all across the country against ICE, and we need to maintain it that way. We need to make them know that they are not welcome in our cities, detaining American citizens, but also this is not the correct way to deal with immigration in this country anyways.
No, it's not.
And we need to put our foot down on it.
We can and should be better. And I think it was Winston Churchill who said, you can always count on Americans to do the right thing after they've tried everything else. And, we're certainly speed running the everything else. So we'll get to the right thing here. I have faith in this country because and I've been saying this since day one, and I'll say it one more time. I know Jon Stewart just said it like last week, but Trump is not popular. And that is the difference between him and every other fascist in the world who took power. They were popular. Trump is historically unpopular. We don't like him. And he's doing nothing to change that except in a negative direction for him.
I will say this random thought just before we sign off. I do think it's funny the amount of Republicans in power who are up for re-election who know they're screwed and yet refuse to do anything against Trump. I know they make this claim that, like, they many of them behind closed doors say they fear their voter base. What voter base? When Trump is gone, the party is going to disintegrate into like multiple factions. Much of the right is only united behind Trump. It really functionally does not it's not good political. Like, ignoring the moral and ethical implications, it's not even good politics to side with Trump. So I don't know why the sheer volume of them do.
Cowards.
Like, it really doesn't make sense to me. They are cowards because they have nothing to fear. He can't control them. He can't primary them because the party won't. Well, actually, it's also been shown every single time Trump has gotten involved in an election, it's only backfired on him. When he's not on the ticket.
I think the thing is, and we'll wrap up after this, I think the thing is they are physically afraid. They know his hardcore base is crazy, and they know he'll pardon them. And the thing is, tough shit, assholes. You ran in a country that has had Donald Trump biting at our fucking necks for a decade. You fucking know what he is. You fucking know who his people are. You stepped into the ring, and it is time for you to either grow a pair or get the fuck out. You have a job. You want a lot of our money. You want access. You want special privileges. You want everything that comes with being a congressperson. And you don't want any of the responsibility to actually do something to keep the country safe. Fuck you. Fuck off and leave.
Agreed. And, I know that patriotism isn't necessarily, the word itself is not inherently popular among the left, and for good reason. It's been co-opted and misused by the right, but this is, kind of back to all this. We are the real Americans. This is what America is, which is when faced with a tyrannical government, we rise up against that tyrannical government. Okay? We are the essence of the American spirit. So we aren't the little shit cowards the way the Republicans are, the way the conservatives are. We're not them. So don't be afraid to go out there and fight for our rights. And we can't give in. We have to keep fighting against them until they're gone.
Yep. Okay. Well, that is the video, everyone. We appreciate you stopping by. We are going to be back on our regular video shit now that the holidays are over. So, I'm
sure nothing else will happen.
No, couldn't possibly be us. So, as always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we'll see you in a little while.
Later, guys.